السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everybody. I am Mohamed Wahba, Assistant Lecturer, Faculty of Engineering, Swan University, Revit Expert. I wanna share with you some useful information about Revit and BIM technology. Let me begin. First of all, I want to talk about the history of Revit. It was invented in October 31st, 1997 by two programmers, and then Autodesk bought this program in 2002 to combine it with some essential and important softwares like AutoCAD, 3D Max, and so on. Let me define Revit, or what I mean when I say Revit or BIM technology. As we can see here, the BIM technology as it's very important and essential technology in which Revit is based on. We want to make it clear and to give some examples about the BIM technology and why it is so important and essential to Revit. Let me give you some examples about when I open Revit. This is a model I've made using Revit. Every single element here and every single command in this ribbons we can see here, like column, walls, floors, beam, and elements. We can deal with individual commands, not as one command can be used in many orders. Like when I say when I want to draw a column, or when I draw column here in Revit, I can see the properties of this element, the parameters of this element. When I say that it connected between the 11 story and 12 story and so on. When I say also I can give some important and imperative materials and parameters, like it's a material, it's concrete, and also I can give some important parameters like the cross section and the dimensions of this column, whether it is rectangular or any other shape. So I can give my element these parameters, which can be edited after drawing. So this what I mean when I say BIM technology or building information modeling. I can give some information about my elements. When we look at back to my presentation, it can clearly be defined when I make a comparison between Revit and AutoCAD. I think many of us use AutoCAD. I think when they want to accomplish their drawing quickly, but there are some difficulty when we deal with AutoCAD, especially let us make a comparison between the two softwares. For example, when I open AutoCAD, I can see here some commands like line, polyline, circle, and modification orders, and so on. I can use for example line command to draw a slab parameters like this. For example, I can use the same order to draw dimensions of column. For example, when I draw a column here in my structure and so on, I can use the same order to imagine and to draw for example a foundation of this structure. And unfortunately AutoCAD doesn't know what does it mean. It is not defined as it is a slab or the slab parameter, or AutoCAD doesn't know whether it is a column or foundation or any other kind of drawings. So Revit can be specific about this idea. Revit can identify every single element in my structure. When I open Revit, for example, I can see every single element in my structure as a commons, like beam, wall, columns, floors, trusses, and so on. Foundation, connections, steel structure, technically steel structure, and so on. So we can deal with it easily when we want to edit our structure, when we want to modify our parameters, and so on. So when we look, for example, I want to, for example, draw a column between a story for example, I want to summon this level. I want to draw, for example, a column. We can see here the properties of this column. I can edit and I can give the dimension of column. I can rename it or duplicate the name, and so on. And when I draw this elements, some important information we need to identify, like I want to draw it between 4 and 5, level 4 and 5 I mean, and at vertical column and so on, and I want to draw this column. So when I draw this column here in level and to connect level 4 and 5, it was drawn in 3 dimension, and so we can look at this column from side view, elevation. We don't need to imagine these views because Revit already have made it and put it here in the project browser. So let me back to the column and to my presentation. So Revit can compete and can defeat why we use Revit, why we abandon or give the AutoCAD or give AutoCAD up and to use Revit. Why we can see Revit is more different? Because firstly, it is inclusive softwares. Many specialists can use Revit. For example, when we say that civil engineer or architects or electrical engineer or mechanical, many specialists can use Revit and combine these works in one model. For example, architects can model their structure and to combine it with civil engineer, and can send it to electrical engineer to make his work, and so on. We can make a kind of cooperation and integration between many specific specialists. So it is a kind of cooperation. Secondly, we can extract from Revit many and infinity of drawings. We can spare our efforts. We can draw less and get a lot of drawings. For example, when I draw, as I said before, I draw in one view, and you don't have to imagine the other views because Revit has already made it. Third, everyone can edit his structure or can find a mistake in his structure. For example, after drawing my structure, for example in AutoCAD, when I forget to draw something, or when I want to edit the position or location of beam or for example door or anything else, we have to imagine this modification in all the views that we've made. So when we use Revit, we only have to change it in one view, and Revit will edit this modification in all the views you've made. So we can change it easily here in Revit. And also we can get more benefits from Revit. For example, when we want to extract shop drawings after finishing our model, if we want to get a call out or sections of what we've made Revit, as after finishing our model, we, for example, made a reinforcement in our, or we reinforced our structure. We want to see the connection, for example, between the column, beams, slabs, foundation, and so on. We can take sections from everywhere in our structure. We can see it very easy, and these offers can be done here in Revit. So not only for civil engineering, but also as I said before, many specialists can find it easily when they want to execute the shop drawings. And absolutely, when we talk about the quantities or the estimation, or how to get the quantities of our model, if I finished my model, I can get the volume or any parameter, or the count of any parameter in my structure. For example, for me as a structural engineer, when I finish my model, I can get the volume of the concrete and to make specific equations to get the weight of cement, or the volume of sand or aggregate, or also the number of the count or the weight of reinforcement in my structure. So it will be easy when I finish my model to get scheduling or to get quantities of my structure, which it can be harder to make this estimation in other softwares like AutoCAD or Excel and so on. Finally, and not last, we can link Revit with many other structure analysis softwares like Robot, and it is made also by Autodesk. We can link it to CSI softwares like SAP, CFC types, and so on. And it is so imperative to do something like this, because we want finally to connect our structure with those softwares to analyze my structure, to get to make design of our structure. So it is so essential. If you found this video useful for you, please like, share, and subscribe my channel to get my latest tutorials, and you will find me below to reply your comments. Thank you very much.